Simmiland is an indie title that was released in August 2018. It's a god game, a subgenre of survival and base building games where, instead of controlling the people, you control their environment. You start on a randomly generated map with 2 humans. You're also given a deck of 50 cards and hold 6 of them in your hand. The basic cards are mineral, tree and plant, which allow you to place various types of rock, tree and small flora depending on the type of terrain you play them on. Placing a tree card on sand creates a palm tree, but if you place a tree card in a swamp, it grows a willow tree instead. The wind, sun and rain cards allow you to vary the type of land on each tile, and there are 2 special cards, sample and inspect. Sampling takes resources from an object for the humans to pick up freely, and inspect unlocks new technologies related to the selected resource. Inspecting a tree, for example, allows your humans to discover axes. Playing cards costs faith, which you gain by granting humans wishes. If a human asks for a tree and you play a tree card, you'll gain more faith back than the cost of the card, and so you'll want to pay attention to the list of wishes and plan around them. The first thing I need to point out about Simmiland is that it is incredibly opaque. There's no tutorial of any kind, and the lack of instruction can be really annoying. Sometimes a human will wish for a certain type of resource, and you'll have no idea how to make it. Other times you'll be trying to advance technologies, but you'll have no idea what to click. However, when you do get a grip on the basics, like remembering which type of plant spawns on which surfaces, then the game really starts to tick. The reason Simmiland works so well is the card mechanic. Base building survival games often have the same problems. You need lots of things, food, water, heat, shelter, equipment, etc., and you don't know what to do first. There are too many options to begin with and it's overwhelming, but eventually these games have the opposite problem. You'll figure out the best opening strategy and then the start of every game will get really boring. Simmiland doesn't have these problems. By introducing the hand of cards, the game folds down into a beautiful little decision space. You can only play one of the cards you've got in front of you, so you can't be overwhelmed by possibilities. This changes the puzzle into one that's simpler to get into, but that also has randomness and variability so that no 2 games begin in the same way. Combine that with your humans having different wishes to cater for in the early game, and you've got a new experience every time. The controls are a little clunky. You can't push the map around with a mouse even though it really feels like you should. Everything else in Simmiland is controlled by the mouse, and having this one tiny detail require the keyboard is a bit jarring. The cursor is also inaccurate sometimes, and twice I managed to click the wrong card and kill my own people with a meteorite. Visually it's not great, but I don't mind it. It's obviously very basic, but at least the sprites were designed with this limitation in mind, and so it all fits together quite nicely. As it turns out, I was playing the game wrong for about 2 hours. I mentioned before that Simmiland doesn't have any sort of tutorial. At one point I tried to make ore and sulfur deposits, and for the life of me I could not work out how to do it. Eventually I even tweeted the developers to ask for help, and as it turns out, to make ore deposits, you need to visit the card shop. You can buy more cards with the points you earn from previous rounds, and I didn't realise this for about 2 hours, because once again, Simmiland is totally opaque. I absolutely hate this sort of unlockable shop in video games, because it's a really cheap way of trying to introduce progress and increase how long you spend on the game. When you unlock new cards, you can develop your civilization further, and you feel like you're improving. Except you're not. In your earlier rounds, you were just being held back by an arbitrary limit to your deck. As soon as you have enough stars to buy new cards, do it, because the game is much better when you have them all. The gameplay of Simmiland is really enjoyable. I like how well the card mechanic combines with the more traditional base building gameplay, but what I like the most is how neat the game's decision space is. Every choice you make is interesting and important, but at the same time it feels so simple. It's just unfortunate that the entire experience is held back by how unaccommodating the game is. It's difficult to learn the specifics, and too much of the game is hidden behind a series of unlockables. Overall, this makes it hard to recommend Simmiland. If this type of base building game isn't completely your thing, then Simmiland won't be the most enjoyable experience for you, and it's probably best you stay away. But if you're really keen on the genre and you're willing to work past the game's more awkward aspects, there are some interesting mechanics in here for you, and you'll likely have a good time. Simmiland is just £4 on Steam, and so if this game looks like your type of thing, then it's probably worth a try.